Good whatever, ladies and gentlemen, and otherwise. It is Thursday. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect a trailer to drop today. I was kind of a little bit worried that Frontier had kind of forgotten they were working on a DLC, but no. It turns out that just the DLC that they have been working on and the free updates that they've been working on is just really heavy duty. So, needless to say, I am over the moon to be proven wrong about all of my worst suspicions. It makes me happy. So let's talk about what we actually got. We're gonna get the tropical pack. I've got the trailer pulled up. Why am I doing this? Other people do it too. Apparently y'all just like hearing people's opinions about things we can all see with our own eyes. I don't get it. I don't. I'm gonna give it a shot. Whatever. This isn't... maybe this will make it in. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, I am going to keep the volume muted because the only way that I'm able to get audio right now is through the microphone and through the desktop audio, and I can't cancel them out. Technical things. We're not gonna have audio. Anyway. Yeah, let's go through the DLC first, and then we will go over the free update, and we'll go from there. Okay, so, first off, and things are gonna look different. It's fine. I'm on my laptop on hotspot. Let's see if we can get this up to, like, we have movement. We have life. Okay, so, real quick, in the background you can see what I've heard people call the largibbon moving around. We can see that he's going across this natural brecciation branch, which is, by the way, huge. Both in terms of its actual size and for what it means for the game. Hopefully, maybe orangutans will end up in this quality of life patch. We'll be able to get them to brachiate across the vines, which, I mean, I wish that they had done from the beginning, but I'm glad to get it now. So, definitely a huge boost to Siamangs and Largibbons. I'm really glad that we have brachiation in the game. It's a tough mechanic to play around, but it's kind of worth it for that. So, everything that we're looking at is in-game assets. It says in-game footage, trailer contains paid content. So this is all DLC stuff. Obviously we have the corpse flowers over here. I'm sure that they have a technical name. We have a variation on a pitcher plant over here. We've got another pitcher plant over here. We have some kind of yellow plant. I'm not sure that these ferns are new, or if they're, like the bracken that we get just rendered really well. Obviously all of these vines through here, these are gonna be part of the, I wanna say it's the South America DLC, unless they're adding more varieties. It looks like these are gonna be those South America pieces. This Swiss cheese plant, we've already got that in the game. I'm not seeing any new trees, but if you see what you think is a new tree, point it out. This is gonna be bamboo, probably the Bengal bamboo we've already got in the game. So not a huge amount here. Other people have pointed out these leaves at the bottom. Could be flexicolor, might not be flexicolor. I'm kind of happy if we have the red and then these are not flexicolor. I know a lot of people want them to be flexicolor because it gives us a little bit more variation, gives us a little bit more flexibility in what we can do with them, but for what it is, it's leaf litter, and I'm glad that we're going to get something that isn't just autumn. And so if it's not, you know, the most useful thing in the world, I don't care. I will use it. So that's neat. Alright, obviously we've got the temple in the back, so let's hit play. Ooh, we get that close-up of the largibbon. Again, I'm not necessarily seeing new plants. These might be new. Definitely a brand new build pack back here. We will talk about that. I am really excited for this. Of course, the largibbon looks great. I'm not the world's biggest fan of monkeys, so, you know, whatever, but definitely neat. Let's hit play again. Actually, real quick, we've got these interesting umbrellas over here. I'm wondering if these are going to be part of the new seating arrangement, or if these are going to be like a lamp, or if these are just going to be placeable pieces. I don't know. And then, of course, we've got this, kind of following in the vein of the Twilight Pack, these built-up stone additional pieces for these temples that are, like, in one or two pieces, that you sort of stack on top as sort of a modular design. And we will talk about that as well. I've got a lot of opinions there. You may not agree with me, but that's okay. Let's go. So we've got him moving across this branch. Wonderful gorge scene, and then we get dumped into this. So this is exciting. This is obviously... I mean, it reminds me of, like, Sri Lanka, or, oh my goodness. Where do they set Kuali Zoo? It reminds me of Kuali Zoo. These roofs, I'm so excited for. I have been waiting to get these bonkers roofs in the game for so long. Obviously, we're going to have some fairly normal looking pieces. It looks like these are going to be our 2-meter angles. And then we're going to have these 5, 6, 7 meter sloped wonderful things that, like we got these in, was it the South America pack? We got something like this. I believe it was the South America pack, where, you know, it had these, like, 5 meter, 6 meter, 7 meter steep, grass roofs that you could use. And those were really awesome, but of course these have the full slope to them, which we couldn't achieve with the other ones. It just sort of had this cabana kind of shape. And that was great for what they were trying to achieve, but I'm really excited to have something where I don't have to put the roof together, and it looks fantastic. Next, I think we gotta talk about this detailing through here. Look at this. I mean, it's gorgeous. I think that this might be a modular piece. I don't think that this is gonna be, like, something completely unique. Either that or it's gonna be, like, stenciling that we sort of apply to the wall. I'm curious to see how that's gonna work out. I think that that could be something really fantastic. And then down here we've got a little bit of the scenery. We have these couches that are very reminiscent of the Indian couches. Now that I can get a better look at them, they're not the Indian couches. See, they've got this curve. The Indian ones are just sort of a box. It's a box. And it might have like a little hood. No, the North African ones have a hood. But it's still really cool to see these, like, normal couches. I'm sure that somebody is going to make a lot of good use out of that for, like, you know, building homes and stuff like that. I can see a lot of use for that for, like, urban builds, domestic builds, things like that. I think that'll be cool. This looks like, the tamarind tree? I don't remember what it's called, but this isn't new. Just looking at all these different build pieces, I'm super excited to see how we're going to get to use these. Definitely seeing some influence from India, Africa. I can see where they've reused some of those assets. So that will be good. Let's go ahead and hit play. Oh yeah, these statues down here that we can kind of see. We're going to get a look at the pig one. I'm wondering if these are going to be the fossa. That'll be cool. So we get this nice zoom in. Here he is. This is that pig statue I was talking about. I am in love with this style. And I have a theory, and I am wrong, but I have a theory. So we are going to get the fossa. That was confirmed in yesterday's live stream. We are going to get the pig. We're going to get the sloth. Oh, I'm missing 2 more. Fossa, pig, sloth. So we are getting the Larg gibbon, we are getting the Red River hog, we are getting the fossa, we're getting, I think, the 3-toed sloth, and we are getting the Asian water monitor. So all of these animals are super cool, but there's a pattern here, and this statue kind of like highlighted it for me. So if y'all are familiar with Journey to the West, this guy reminds me of, like, Pigsy, and it's fitting that we're going to get a pig for Pigsy. And then we're also going to get the Lara Gibbon for Monkey. And then you have to remember the horse is also a dragon. Like he's a dragon who has turned himself into a horse and proceeds to be useless for the rest of the plot except that one time. So I think it's okay to analogize him as probably the Asian water monitor. And then if we assume that Sandy is the Fosso, because he's ferocious, but also kind of relegated, and also Fossos live on Madagascar, which is an island. Islands are known for sand. It's a stretch. Bear with me. And then if we say that the sloth is Tripitaka, hear me out. Tripitaka spends his entire time getting kidnapped, being saved by everybody else. He's a little bit slow, so he constantly has to ride on the back of the horse, and he's a little bit useless. And oh boy, if they just decided that Tripitaka was a sloth, and we got a Journey to the West pack without them saying Journey to the West pack, I am so excited. So needless to say, if I end up building for this pack, I'm probably gonna try and incorporate that into the build, even if that's not what their intention was. I'm super excited. I think that's super cool. Anyway, let's talk about what's actually on screen. So, once again, like the Twilight pack, we're getting these hyper-stylized statues. I'm really hoping, I don't think we will, but I'm really hoping that we get normal statues and hyper-stylized statues, because I love these. I want this to continue, but I also want something normal, you know? I would like just a regular pig. Thank you. We don't really have them. I mean, like, Babarusa, sure, but, like, really? Eh. New incense burner. Very excited about that. Always love props that have animations to them. This moss is exciting. Look at this. I'm wondering if maybe this stone is going to be dynamic, or if this is, like, a texture we're going to be able to apply. I'm really hoping that it's not just printed directly onto these pieces. That would kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm hoping that this texture is like, you know, something else going on. We can also get a look at the new path. I am loving this path. I have seen this path style a lot. I think it's gonna get good flexibility whether or not you're building an Asian zoo. Okay, let's hit play. Oh yeah. So, oh, yep, here he is, Asian water monitor. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, is it too far? Is it too far? Oh, it's too far. Okay, well, these things go by really fast. Here he is. You can see that whole swooping thing. They've decorated the underwater area brilliantly. Asian water monitors can climb. I don't know that they will be able to climb in Planet Zoo. If so, that would make them, I believe, our first climbing reptile in the game. So that would be neat. I don't know that they will have added it. And if they didn't, frankly, I'm just happy to have another reptile. I know people are, like, really kind of split on the whole reptile thing. I'm not. I like them. I'm glad that we have them in the game. Are they my favorite to build for? Not necessarily. But at the same time, we have every crocodilian we could possibly want. I'm glad that we're getting something a little bit, you know, outside the normal realm. Okay, this screenshot. Obviously, we get this look at this new stone texture. I'm really glad that they're fleshing this out. Stone is one of those really expressive materials to work with, and like even the difference between the European stone and the Twilight stone makes a lot of difference when you're looking at at the builds. The European stone is very classically cobbled. The Twilight has a little bit more character to it. And then here we get these, you know, normal, I dare I say it, normal bricks. And again, if you are building like a domestic, but what I was saying is that if you're going to have this, this stone and it's going to be flexi-color, then there's a good chance that you'll be able to recolor it for, again, more domestic sort of situations. Maybe a different version of like a red brick or a cobbled brick or something like that. So I think that even outside of these temple textures that we're going to use them for, I think it's going to have a lot of applications, generally speaking, especially for those classically designed zoos, or for more modern and realistic kinds of zoos where they're implementing you know, brick for permanent structures instead of using just like concrete. So I think that that could be, I think it has a lot of potential, basically. And then of course we get a good look at the sign. I am enjoying this art style. I think that's really cute. He's not quite realistic, but he's got all the bits, so I like the styling there. It looks like this plant might be something unique. Maybe not, maybe you recognize it. These plants are those yellow plants that we were looking at in the very first shot. I don't know what these are called. They look like they're going to be one of those aerial plants. They don't have roots, basically, or maybe they'll be some kind of like a kind of a parasitic plant, which would be really cool. There's not a whole lot going on over here. Clearly the sloth is designed to grab your attention, but we can get a little bit of a better angle on these temples. What's interesting to me is, see these curves here? See how it's got this ridgeline and then it's got these curves? So, I brought up the Twilight Pack earlier, we'll come back to that, but I have a couple of thoughts over whether or not this is going to be multiple pieces or one piece. Yeah, let's see if it will continue to play. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, so what can we grab out of this? I guess the guests are going to have... See what they're doing over here? They're like gagging on the flower or like trying to smell the flower, which is very interesting. I'm wondering if we're going to get more guest interactions that interact like with the plants and the scenery. That would be super cool, because right now it feels like, you know, you decorate your park and the only real notification you get is, oh, this place is really nicely decorated. And that's, you know, neat and all, but it would be cool if guests actually responded to the scenery. So you built up these nice areas and they actually wanted to go visit them, weren't, you know, not just drawn to the animals. I think it's going to take us a long time to get to that point, but this is a good start, you know? We also got to look at these textures. These look like more plaster pieces, interestingly. I don't know that they will be. I kind of hope that they are, because plaster is one of those really fun materials to work with once you get the hang of it. And it would kind of branch it out from being just like a standard plaster, or from, you know, kind of leaning towards that North African kind of feel. This would give a whole lot more utility to some of those pieces. And then of course we got these toppers. This whole, I'm not really sure what to call it in the back. That's interesting. So the shapes of these stone pieces are really intriguing. I'm really glad that they're getting the hang of their stonework and they're starting to experiment a little bit. Out on the wish list now on Steam. We got another good shot of these gibbons down here. Another good angle on these roofs. Again, very stylized, seem to go together very well. I'm wondering how much of these are going to be auto-tiled, where they're going to connect to each other naturally, or if they're going to be like, this is just part of the texture. Or if we're looking at another Arctic Pack situation, if you remember the Arctic Pack roofs, where like you get the individual pieces, but then you get the whole thing put together as well, and then you just plunk it on. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. We will find out in a couple of weeks, though. Yeah, available on Steam. Another back picture of the Lar Gibbon. I'm not seeing anything through here that we haven't already seen. I did notice that the map that we are on is not a new map skirt. It's the rainforest one, but I don't remember which one. It might be Asia Rainforest, honestly. So, odds on, we'll probably get a new map. It'll either be sandbox, or not sandbox, challenge, or campaign. They seem to be fleshing out the campaign a little bit more, which I'm down for. Again, we get another look at these roofs. They've got something unique going on with them. I am curious to see where this is going. Here we go, Lara Gibbons, and then that's it. And Planet Zoo Tropical Pack coming 4th of April. Okay, so that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and transition screens real quick. So let's talk about the direction introduced with the Twilight Pack real quick. There is, There's definitely a style that they went for when they introduced that pack. We got those turrets, we got a lot of those stone crenellation pieces, but we got a lot of pieces where they're very specific to the pack, but then once you pull them out of the pack and you put them in other places, they start to gain more uses than you would think. A lot of those Twilight Stone crenellation pieces ended up being really useful for decorating cities for me. I'm rather excited to see where that ends up going. So I've got that pulled up. Let's go back to the trailer for a minute, okay? So, like, these stone pieces, we see these all over the place. Those island, kind of candle rocks or whatever, we got those. We're clearly getting more of these stylized statues. This one kind of reminds me of, like, an East Asian dragon, so that's kind of where that is probably going. This roof style, and then again up to these really small roofs. This really reminds me of those turrets that we got. So I'm wondering how much of that is going to be, like, if these are going to be normal roof pieces or if these are going to be like those turret pieces. All the way in the back we can see this temple, and we haven't really gotten a good close-up look at these roof pieces. I'm wondering what they're gonna do with that. If it's gonna be more pieces that we've already seen throughout the trailer and they've just, like, built it up, or if there's something here that we can't see. So that'll be interesting. We can get these lights, new trash cans. These are gonna be really applicable, I think, if put in the right spot. They've got a lot of flexibility. So, do I like the direction they're going with this sort of Twilight structure? Like, the physical structure of the materials that they're building? Honestly, yeah. It does have a bit of a roundness to it. It's got a cartooniness to it that we were kind of moving away from with the wetlands DLC and the conservation DLC and the grasslands DLC. We were moving away from that, and we are very clearly moving back into it. I'm kind of okay with this. I've found that games that don't tend to age really awkwardly. Like, go back to any quote-unquote realistic game made in 2008, they look like trash. I'm sorry, they do. Whereas something that's got a little bit of a more cartoony vibe to it ages really well into the future. So while I know that a lot of people are going to be down on it right now, I think that this actually helps to future-proof the game, especially in case, you know, Planet Zoo 2 doesn't get greenlit, for example. And I know we don't want to talk about that future, but unfortunately sometimes we live in the worst timeline. So I think that it definitely is going to work in the future, but we are going to have to be more creative about how we implement these pieces, you know? As for the fact that it's a build pack, honestly, there are people who play this game in order to build habitats for animals, and there are people who play this game to build. And I am one of those people who plays this game to build. I'm happy that I can place animals wherever I want them to be, but at the end of the day, I have an idea for structures and towns and, you know, scenes that I want to make a reality, and then the animals are kind of a bonus on top. A lot of people don't necessarily play like that, but a lot of people do, you know? So I am very happy with this. The other thing that this does is, remember how everybody was disappointed with the Southeast Asia DLC? Well, we now have Southeast Asia DLC Part 2. Are people going to be happy with that? I guess time will tell, right? We're getting a lot of good animals, a lot of, you know, requested animals. The fact that it's labeled as the Tropical Pack as opposed to Southeast Asia 2 Electric Boogaloo, that's going to help things. But this architecture style is clearly meant to complement that pack. And it's a really good move, because in my opinion, the Southeast Asia pack could have been a build pack. I'm happy we got the animals we did, but it had problems when it first came out. A lot of the animals were not looking the best they could. They got patched up. But now we can actually build regions that are fitting to them and not have to rely on the clearly Chinese, Japanese-inspired, you know, infrastructure and architecture in order to build up those areas. We don't have to rely on the South America pieces so heavily in order to create something that is so clearly not South America. So I'm very happy with this, and I think probably in the future, I will end up going through, and when this gets released, I might end up building a mini zoo that's specifically a Southeast Asia DLC with this style in mind. So we'll find out. Okay, so let's talk update 113. Y'all have probably read it by now, especially since I don't know when this video is coming out. It may never come out. It's entirely possible that it'll come out the day after the DLC releases. I don't know. So, animal sociality. This is a rather complicated brick of text, so I am going to let you guys read it on your own. I think that that would probably be better, but here are my takeaways from it. So right now, the problem that they're having is that the animals are social, but they're not social in a realistic way. So when you introduce a new animal to the pack, it just automatically joins a pack. It doesn't matter... Sir, can I assist you? Thank you. Sorry, Rufus says hi. So they're not particularly designed to socialize in a realistic way. So they're trying to move the current social dynamics away from the old sort of frankly rudimentary system and into this sort of modern one with a better AI. And this is great. It's going to be a little bit more in-depth for us to work with, which I like. I feel like a lot of Planet Zoo almost gets lost in the building aspect. You know, there's a lot of management that feels very rapid fire, and for the most part it's 3 major interactions. Number 1, there's overcrowding. Number 2, an animal is inbreeding. Number 3, a facility failed. Like, those are your top 3 management interactions, right? This changes that a little bit. So you have animals now fitting within, if they're social or not, it now defines their social status. Solitary means I don't want to see another member of my species ever again. Matrilineal, I believe, means there's a dad and we count the genetics along the mom's line. Patrilineal, I believe, means mom's in charge and we count it along the dad's line, or it's backwards, where matrilineal, the mom is in charge, and patrilineal, the dad is in charge. The second one feels more natural. I think this means that matrilineal, the mom is the one who's going to be basically in charge. We're going to see this with a lot of monkeys. Patrilineal, dad's in charge. We're going to see this with a lot of, like, cats and dogs. Or gregarious, which is where everybody's just having a great time. This will let you know how they engage with their offspring. That makes sense. New animals that are introduced to a habitat and juveniles that mature are marked as outsiders if they exceed the gender or population limits of a habitat. But if they formed a bond, they will not be considered outsiders. So, for those of you who are a little bit less familiar, in real life, when you go to adopt a cat, you might be told, hey, this cat has a bonded pair. You need to adopt both cats. So what that means is that the 2 cats have decided that, hey, we're just going to spend the rest of our lives together. Do not separate us, please. And animals will respect that bond, and humans are supposed to respect that bond. This is a way to incorporate that real-life mechanic into the game. So I'm very happy about that. One of the things that they highlight is that you can now have 2 lions in a lion pack, and not just 1 lion and a whole bunch of lionesses, which is wonderful, because we know from real life that, you know, lion packs come in 1 or 2. So that'll be good. Outsiders can be rejected from varying social interactions. That actually is going to reduce the number of errors that we get. So you're going to get 1 outsider who is just constantly heckled, as opposed to everybody fighting everybody all the time. That's a huge improvement. It means that I can just pick up the 1 guy who is not fitting in with the group, and I don't have to do this, you know, juggling with, okay, well, this is the elder and this is the younger, but the younger is related to all the female. I don't want to do any of that, you know. So that solves that. And then, of course, you can incorporate them back into the pack when either their problems with the alpha have been solved, or when the balance of gender ratios or pack size have been fixed. So That's good. I'm curious what exactly they mean by relationship with the alpha. If that means there's the alpha and his son, like especially with the deer, it's a huge problem with the deer, where you know one of the male deer will grow up, and then dad is just infuriated that he dared to grow up. So I'm wondering if this sort of cuts back on that, where it, you know, does it enforce the kicking out? Does the dad have a little bit more tolerance? I don't know how this is going to work. So there's a lot of this where we're not going to see how it fully functions until we get into the game. But I suspect that, like any good card or board game, the second that, you know, we get into the game, it's going to make sense, and the instructions on the page are just garble, you know. And then, of course, all of this is going to be under the social tab, and we can always reference this page if we get confused. Null paths. Everybody's been begging for a null path. We now finally have it. It is not going to be a new button that you click. You are going to go to anything listed as a natural path. There's one that places down like dirt or sand, and it's got logs that stick out of the ground. There is another one that has the logs but doesn't place any kind of sand. And then there's another one where it's got these like... I don't know. It's cute. It looks like a garden path almost. Anyway, what they're doing is, under the current format, if you mark these natural paths as not having a curb, it'll put down a curb anyway. When this updates, they will just be null paths. They just won't put anything down. So presumably, on one of them you will still get that dirt path, but of course you can paint over it, and on the other one it will make no changes. And then of course you can highlight the hidden paths to keep track of your invisible stuff. So I'm curious what this is going to look like when we suspend those invisible paths, if they're truly going to be invisible. Because if they're not, it's going to piss off a lot of people and it's going to look really janky. So I'm hoping that it is a true invisible path once we lift it off the ground and it's floating in the air, because I have a lot of uses for that. Okay. Multi-axis movement. Right now we can move across the X, the Y, and the Z. This is going to make it so that way we can move across X, Y, Y, Z, and W, or X, Y, Y, Z, and X, Z. And instead of having to move one and then the other, we can just move across both axes at the same time, but not all three axes, which is very useful, because sometimes you just want it to hold in place. Climbable asset toggle. This is admittedly not a problem that I have, but I'm also very careful when I use certain materials to make sure that they're not going to break through them, or that, you know, they're not going to be able to climb through them. Essentially what this means for me is that my realm of building options has been greatly expanded, so I'm very happy about that. It might also help with raccoon management, because the freaking raccoons will climb anything and everything, so hopefully this will help keep them, you know, contained. But that's basically everything. So, if anybody watched this, I would love to know your opinions. I know it took us a really long time to get through all of it, but I am not going to go through and do every single individual update for the entire cycle. I'm just not. We're gonna get the drop, and then I'm gonna continue life as normal, because the amount of time that it takes me to, takes me to film these things, and then for them to get edited, and then to get uploaded, and any kind of schedule is... Don't expect any of my Planet Zoo content to ever be up to date. Let me put it that way. This is like the one exception. And it's gonna be multiple days late, so whatever. Anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts about the new pack. I'm looking forward to it. And, bye!